Hello there, gamers. How are you guys doing this morning? This is Rob of Rule of Two Review. Welcome back to the channel, and today I obviously want to talk more about Metroid because we're at the beginning of 2023. I happen to think that this is a year where we could possibly, hopefully, finally, maybe see Metroid return to us after 2021's release of Metroid Dread, which was like the greatest thing ever. But obviously, we've all been waiting on pins and needles for some kind of concrete news and gameplay and release dates and information about Metroid Prime 4. We all know the story, how Metroid Prime 4 was announced at the first E3 of the Nintendo Switch's life in June of 2017, which is coming up on 6 years ago. Absolutely crazy. And then, of course, beyond that, in 2019, they announced that the game was actually scrapped and handed over to Retro Studios and basically restarted from ground zero. As far as we know, the way it was explained to us, it sounds like it was almost a straight-up restart, as if no prior work was ever done on the game. Now, in just a couple of weeks, it's actually going to be the 4-year anniversary of the announcement of Metroid Prime 4's cancellation and basic restarting under Retro Studios. And in the 4 years since we got that announcement, that fateful, very, very sad day, we've seen precisely zero about that game. We know nothing. They mentioned it one time briefly right before they revealed Metroid Dread, which was June 15th, 2021. Basically, hey, we know you're excited for Metroid Prime 4. We're working on it, but here's this other thing. And then immediately all of our attention, very accurately, were focused on Metroid Dread. Suddenly, Metroid Dread came into the picture and all of our thoughts and desires about Metroid Prime 4 temporarily went out the window, because of course Metroid Dread was going to become the priority. And so as of right now, Metroid Dread itself has been out for over a year. We've all played it, we've all beaten it, we all love it. It's a great game. It's the best-selling Metroid game of all time. It's broken new ground for the Metroid franchise. And so now we get to set our sights on the future and the next game we also know they're working on, which is the ever-mysterious Metroid Prime 4, which I feel like half of all of my video content I've ever made over 9 years on YouTube at this point has probably become just about Metroid Prime 4, because I'm so excited for what this game is going to be and whenever we're going to see new information about it. And as I joked about on a video a few weeks ago, at the beginning of like the last 2 or 3 years, I kept talking about and making videos saying, this is going to be the year, 2020 is going to be the year, 2021 is going to be the year, 2022 is going to be the year, and none of those have been the year. We're still waiting on something for this game. So, as I joked about at the beginning of 2023, where we are right now, I also do think this is going to be the year. You know, at what point are you just beating your head against a wall and actually seeing no results? I'm probably that guy, but I don't care. I'm a big Metroid fan. It's part of why I like having a YouTube channel now, is to keep talking about the franchise, because it's relevant again for the first time in a very, very long time. And Metroid Prime 4 is that exciting. And so, with all the conversations and talk and speculation about if 2023 is going to be the year we see new Nintendo hardware, and you guys know I do think we will see Nintendo's next generation hardware this year, a lot of us think that maybe we're going to see Metroid Prime 4 this year. However, we also might not see it this year. I could be wrong. Maybe the game is still far enough away that we're just not ready to see it. And so what I wanted to do was come out of here with a super, super hot take and discuss this in this video. And that hot take is that I actually do think that everything Nintendo is doing with Metroid Prime 4 is actually the right call for the game. I know that this probably sounds crazy and pretty frustrating to a lot of folks, especially to hear from someone like me, maybe, who's known for being, you know, one of the biggest Metroid fans on the planet and making so much of my content around the Metroid franchise. Yes, it's frustrating that the game was announced 6 years ago. It's frustrating that since its cancellation and restart 4 years ago, we still know nothing about the game and we don't know when we're going to hear from it next. That all sucks. Of course, it hurts me to my core all the time. I mean, that's why I keep talking about it, is because I keep waiting for something new to come out about this game. And while I do think this year we very likely could see something and maybe it gets confirmed for next gen or cross gen, I do think that's going to happen. I'm also completely okay with the fact that Nintendo has been silent on the game, and I'm okay with the fact that they chose to restart it and basically everything that's happened so far. it's possible if you're a fan of something, I think the healthy way, like I think I am with Metroid, I can be both sad and frustrated about the whole course of Metroid Prime 4's development and Nintendo's continued silence, while also still understanding, accepting, and respecting their decision to do so. Because what I believe is that behind the scenes, they are cooking up something super special. They've shown us all the signs that they are taking great care with this game and great care with this franchise. And I think that whatever plans they're preparing for the reveal of this game and the release, and whatever the game is going to turn out to look like and play like and add to the Metroid lore, I think it's going to be so good. And so, in my opinion, and granted, I'm saying this before we've seen and played the game, so maybe this gets proven wrong in the future. But as of right now, in my opinion, I actually like what they're doing because I think it's probably best for the game. Essentially, for me, what this all boils down to is the fact that I just trust Nintendo. And I trust Retro Studios, especially, to do what's right for this game and for this franchise. I know for a lot of folks who are just disappointed and sad and just wanting to just demand the game right here, right now, you might not feel this way, but for me, I actually think that the choice to scrap the original version, give it back to the original studio of the Metroid Prime series of games, and then communicate that to us, the audience and the fans, I actually think that was a fantastic sign for the end quality of Metroid Prime 4. That actually showed me that they care about the product and that they care about the results of this game and what it could do for the Metroid series. They probably realize that it might sound dramatic to say this, but maybe the entire future and success of the franchise, or at least a large part of it, rests on the success of Metroid Prime 4 and the quality of Metroid Prime 4 and the reception to Metroid Prime 4. And so if the original version wasn't shaping up to be proper, and they know they were maybe going to release a game that was going to be, I don't know, even a 7 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10 or whatever you might say to just kind of throw arbitrary numbers out there, I think they knew that that would do damage to the franchise. And so they're like, you know what? It's worth the time and money and heartache we're going to put the fans through to just say, okay, all the money and time we've invested into this first version, scrap it, get rid of it. It's lost money and it's lost manpower. And so let's contact Retro. Let's sign them up to just redo this from scratch because we know they're going to make the best game possible. We can learn from our mistakes of whatever was happening with that first version that we'll probably never see. And let's make the best version of this game it can be so we can continue to launch the Metroid series to its proper future success. I think those of us with a lot of experience in the industry and following the hobby and following the industry over the decades, like myself, you guys know I'm an old man, I'm in my early 40s, so I've seen some shit when it comes to the video game industry. I think a lot of people who maybe don't have that same experience or age or whatnot might not understand the value to this, and they just want to demand what they want right here, right now. But that's not how these things work. I actually feel like we're pretty fortunate that Nintendo chose to speak directly to us and communicate what was happening behind the scenes with that game. I've discussed this in videos over the past since the game was first announced and then delayed and whatnot, that these delays and restarting of game development probably happens all the time with a lot of games, but more often than not, we just don't know about it or hear about it. It doesn't need to become public information. The only thing that the public needs to know is what the game looks like once trailers start coming out, and then when the release date is, and then the game just has to come out on that release date. Maybe it releases broken or unfinished, or maybe it releases and it's amazing, but usually the public, us, we don't need to know that behind the scenes stuff. But I think Nintendo is treating Metroid very carefully, and they're respecting the fans. I know this was 4 years ago, and it sucks that they haven't been able to say anything about it since. It is frustrating, and I don't like it. But I also do respect it, because I think they respected me as one of the biggest Metroid fans by just telling me what the hell happened with that game. And so then we come back to the continued mystery and the continued silence around Metroid Prime 4. Why is that happening? Why has Nintendo not given us any other updates since then, almost 4 years ago? Well, to me, I also kind of put this in a similar category to their choice to communicate to us about the restarting of the game, in the sense that they don't want to show this game until they know they've got the actual final good version of the game to show. Given whatever happened with that first version, plenty of reasons to believe Bandai Namco was the team working on that first version. It's not been confirmed by Nintendo or Bandai, so all the different forums and LinkedIn posts and Reset Era threads and whatever, all these things that make sense and that even I tend to believe, it's still not concrete proof. So whether it was Bandai or whether it was someone else, whatever they were working on, it clearly wasn't worth showing, and it probably taught Nintendo a lesson in terms of let's not show anything until we know it's better than what we canceled from the old team, right? It has to be better than that version that Nintendo was willing to have lost all that money on. I personally believe we're going to see Metroid Prime 4 when two things are true. One, the game is around 6 months away from the reveal date of the game. So whatever day or month they show it to us, around 6 months later, I expect the release date to be what it is. Similar to what they did with Metroid Dread. They revealed it in June and they released it in September. I mean, it's crazy. And in fact, they even did the same thing with Metroid Samus Returns on the 3DS back in 2017. The same day they revealed Metroid Prime 4, they revealed Metroid Samus Returns. That was revealed at E3, and only like, 4, 5, 6 months later, I think also in September, I want to say, they released Metroid Samus Returns. They gave us 5 months or so between reveal and release. They did it again with Metroid Dread. It worked well for both games, especially Metroid Dread, because it sold much better. The 3DS was already on its last breath when Samus Returns came out, so the game did well for itself and it was fantastic, but it really wasn't given a fair shake for that reason. Metroid Dread had much better circumstances, and now we've seen why. The game sold over 3 million copies in just its first year, and is the best-selling Metroid game of all time. That's awesome. And so that's the first thing. I think they want to make sure that they don't reveal it until the release date is 6 months out. So it's almost ready to be finished. It's about to go gold. Everything we see and know about the game is so finalized that there's nothing to question, and we're going to be seeing exactly what we're going to play. The second thing that tells me when it's going to be ready to show is, and this is my conspiracy theory I've been talking about for 3 years, you guys, and I think it's when they're also ready or close to ready to talking about their next-gen hardware, because I do believe there is a phenomenal chance, not a lock, okay, I'm not guaranteeing it, but I definitely believe with almost all of the bones in my body that Metroid Prime 4 will be a launch day or near launch title for their next-gen hardware in 2023 or 2024, whatever. And so I think there's a great chance that they want the reveal of Metroid Prime 4. This is tinfoil hat conspiracy stuff, okay? I'm not leaking or rumoring anything. You guys know I'm just a fan predicting. I hear things behind the scenes. I heard things about a 2D Metroid before Dread came out, but I don't leak stuff. So I'm a fan speculating. Don't run with this. That's not how I present my predictions, okay? I'm not that guy. That's how people get into trouble and they end up having to shave their freaking heads. That's not me, okay? So my conspiracy theory is they probably want the first reveal of Metroid Prime 4 gameplay to be somewhat tied to information or details or a confirmation about their new hardware. And I'm sure if there's any truth to a next-gen version of Metroid Prime 4 existing, I bet they want to first show us what that game will look like on the next-gen hardware. Yeah, we might have a less good-looking version on the Switch that'll probably still be great, but I would think if there's any truth to my theory and prediction here, that they would want the best version shown possible. And they're both hyping people up for the new hardware and hyping people up for Metroid Prime 4 all at the same time. And I know Metroid isn't the same tier of seller as Zelda and Mario and Smash Brothers and Pokemon. I know this, but that doesn't mean that there isn't still a benefit to both the Metroid franchise and the new hardware to show both at the same time, or to make them both kind of help each other out in such a way. And so it's kind of long-winded here, but it's those two things that I believe will tell us when we're going to see Metroid Prime 4. When the release date is 6 months away, and when it's ready to show in comparison to their next-gen hardware. And so I don't want to talk too much about any more ideas, because there's another Metroid Prime 4 related video I have planned pretty soon, and I think a lot of that stuff will make more sense in that video than in this conversation. So I'll just end this to say really what the thesis statement of this video and conversation is for you guys, which is that I just think that what Nintendo has been doing with this game, all of the secrecy and mystery for 4 years, while frustrating, I think it makes sense, and I actually think it's the right call, because For a lot of people, you might feel the opposite, but it actually gives me faith in the game. It tells me that Nintendo knows what they're doing. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe everything is on fire behind the scenes and people are running around with like chickens with their head cut off, not knowing how to fix this game and make it good. And maybe the game is just going through unbelievable development hell behind the scenes. Maybe. But I don't believe that, you guys. I think that's actually a sign things are going really well and that Nintendo and Retro are just being extremely calculated in how and when they reveal it. Whether it's next-gen related, whether they just want to make sure it's ready to go and the release date is set and there's no questions about the quality. Whatever it is, that's just what I believe. Time will tell if I'm proven right or wrong, because with any prediction I make, I always say I might be wrong. But I think I'm right on this one. I think that Nintendo knows what they're doing, and I think the reason for the delayed reveal are those two factors I brought up. They want that release date ready, and they probably want next-gen hardware reveals and information to be kind of tied to the next information we get about Metroid Prime 4. And I'll say it once again, I think there's a great chance this year, 2023, we may get all of that info.